Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
From lashes for days with the viral Liquid Lash Extensions mascara to awakening your eyes with lift and color from the Brilliant Eye Brightener, Thrive Cosmetics is the go-to when you want to amplify your everyday look. Plus, every product is 100% vegan, cruelty-free, and made with clean, skin-loving ingredients that work with your skin. And for every product purchased, Thrive Cosmetics donates to help communities thrive. So every time you use your favorite Thrive Cosmetics product, you're helping communities you care about too. Amplify your everyday. Go to thrivecosmetics.com/shine26 for an exclusive offer of 20% off your first order. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/shine26.
And away we go, episode 1376 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Wednesday, July 29th, 2026. It is the day of the first practice of 2026 Washington Commanders training camp. Happy training camp to you and yours. Happy training camp to those who celebrate. Football season is here. No, not the regular season, not even the preseason. But for the purposes of this podcast, football season is here. The season of regular news and developments with our NFL team is here. The offseason is done. Training camp is underway. The preseason isn't that far away. Washington's 2026 preseason opener is on August 14th, and the regular season isn't that far away. Washington's 2026 regular season opener is on September 13th. Hello and welcome to this Wednesday installment of the Al Galdi podcast, on which we talk Washington Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. Next segment, reaction to and analysis of notable items from Washington General Manager Adam Peters and Washington head coach Dan Quinn during a joint press conference on Tuesday evening. Peters and Quinn addressed a variety of issues. Among the topics that we'll discuss, 2 injury reveals from Peters, insight from Peters on why Washington signed unrestricted free agent cornerback Rasul Douglas, an update from Quinn on who is coaching Washington tight ends, a comical interaction regarding San Francisco 49ers receiver Brandon Aiyuk, how Peters feels about Washington's situation at receiver, Peters with maybe the biggest tell yet of why Washington parted with Kliff Kingsbury as offensive coordinator, and the theme of excitement from Peters and Quinn. A lot to get to next segment. And also on the show, I'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. The Nats now are 7-4 since the All-Star break, an 8-6 win over the Toronto Blue Jays at Nationals Park on Tuesday night, in a game for which the start was delayed for 1 hour and 7 minutes due to rain. The O's, they on Tuesday evening got embarrassed. A 14-0 loss at the Detroit Tigers in a game in which the Tigers scored at least 1 run in each of the 8 innings in which the Tigers batted. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me, the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. You can reach me via writing a review of the podcast on Apple Podcasts. You can write about whatever you want, and I'll read what you write if you give the podcast a 5-star rating. From Mike on X on San Francisco 49ers receiver Brandon Aiyuk and his quest to play for Washington, including what I've been saying lately, that he more and more is coming across as someone who's all talk and no action, and as someone who deep down inside doesn't want to play football anymore. Aiyuk, as best as we can tell, still has not applied for reinstatement from the reserve/left squad list. The widespread belief is that him doing so would lead to the Niners releasing him, making him an unrestricted free agent and free to sign with Washington. But he, as best as we can tell, still has not applied for reinstatement from that list. Also, we on Monday's show, episode 1374, discussed the comments of Niners president of football operations / general manager John Lynch during a press conference conference this past Saturday afternoon. Lynch offered no real comment on the Brandon Aiyuk situation, but did wish him and his family well. Writes Mike, mostly agree with you on Aiyuk. I am not sure if his refusal to get reinstated is because he doesn't really want to play football or isn't very smart and got rid of his advisors. On Lynch, that was not the high road. That was completely ducking the question. The 49ers are playing hardball, which they have every right to do. Admittedly, Aiyuk is making it very easy for them to do so, but the 49ers could just release Aiyuk. Nobody's trading for him. They don't want him, so why hold on to his rights? That's what Lynch is ducking. It's complete BS. You say that to someone after you have released that person to pursue his or her career elsewhere. The 49ers are holding on to his rights, preventing him from moving on with his career. We wish you well in our prison is not the high road. Thank you for that, Mike. I still would say that John Lynch, who, remember, has been personally insulted by Brandon Aiyuk in a YouTube video in a pretty nasty way, wishing Aiyuk and his family well, was Lynch taking the high road. Lynch didn't have to say that. But if you want to use that prison analogy, the key to the jail cell holding Aiyuk is right there on the floor. All that he has to do is pick up the key and use it. All that he has to do is apply for reinstatement from that reserve/left squad list. The path is clear. The escape plan from the prison is clear. A, apply for reinstatement from the reserve/left squad list on which the Niners have Aiyuk and thus don't have to pay him. B, get reinstated. C, show up for Niners training camp, or at least threaten to show up for Niners training camp. At that point, the Niners almost certainly would cut him, because if they didn't, they'd risk being on the hook for his full compensation for the 2026 season if Camp suffered a season-ending injury. But Aiyuk is refusing to apply for reinstatement. He, on July 7th, in an Instagram post, said of the Niners that he, quote, will not be reinstating with them, nor ever doing any kind of business with them, end quote. So yeah, the Niners could just release him, but why should they when they would rather trade him and get back something for him? And right now there does seem to be zero trade market for the guy. So from the Niners' perspective, hold on to Aiyuk because it's costing you nothing, and see if a trade market does develop at some point. In the meantime, Aiyuk, in refusing to apply for reinstatement, isn't forcing the Niners' hand. And he can keep posting on Instagram about how much he wants to play for Washington, but all of that means nothing without him taking the action to become free to sign with Washington. All talk and no action. And so I do wonder if deep down inside, he doesn't really want to play football anymore. Hey, if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure that you check out the BGO Blind Pig podcast, which is the official podcast of BGObsession.com, a terrific Washington Commanders forum anyone can join. And BGO Blind Pig essentially is the forum in podcast form, a roundtable discussion about the Washington Commanders. It's like you and a bunch of your buddies who are Washington fans are hanging out and talking about the team. The conversation is smart and fun and respectful. You can find the BGO Blind Pig podcast on YouTube and on any major podcast provider. Now is a great time of year to check out the BGO Blind Pig podcast, given that 2026 Washington Commanders training camp is getting going. Some really good recent episodes on the team's NFC and AFC opponents in the 2026 regular season. Make BGObsession.com the home for your burgundy and gold obsession, and make the BGO Blind Pig podcast part of your Washington Commanders podcast rotation. We have arrived at the day of the first practice of 2026 Washington Commanders training camp. Rookies reported for camp this past Friday. Veterans reported for camp on Tuesday. And the team on Wednesday morning is holding the first practice of this camp. We on Tuesday evening had a joint press conference for General Manager Adam Peters and head coach Dan Quinn. The presser started shortly before 6 p.m., lasted for about 30 minutes. We got a lot from Adam Peters and Dan Quinn. And Peters, during his opening statement, revealed 2 injuries for Washington. Here was that.
I will start off with a couple of just procedural moves in addition to the moves we made earlier in the week. Tressway and Kane Medrano are both dealing with injuries, so they won't be dressed up tomorrow. Tress suffered a pectoral injury. He'll be rehabbing off to the side. It's not expected to keep him out for an extended period of time, though, so not too worried about that. And then the same thing with Medrano, just a minor hamstring training in the offseason, and he should be back shortly. So those are the 2 pieces of news, and I'll hand it over to DQ.
Okay, so punter Tressway is dealing with a pectoral muscle injury, and linebacker Kane Medrano is dealing with a hamstring injury. Neither injury appears to be too serious, although Washington is signing a punter. The team is signing unrestricted free agent punter Matt Hawk, that per his agent via a post on X on Tuesday afternoon. Washington this past Saturday morning announced having placed 3 players on the active/physically unable to perform list: edge defenders Dorrance Armstrong and Dietrich Wise Jr. and cornerback Trey Amos. Also, Washington this past Saturday morning announced having placed cornerback Fred Davis II on the active/non-football illness list. But regarding Amos, he's coming off a fractured fibula that he suffered in Washington's 44-22 loss to the Detroit Lions at Northwest Stadium this past November 9th. The thought was that he would be good to go for training camp. He is not. We on Tuesday evening had this exchange between Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack and Adam Peters.
Both of you, in terms of some of the guys who are on PUP list, namely Trey Amos, I know you don't have to talk about the injury, but can you shed any light as to why he's still out? Because the timeline seemed like maybe he should be back by now.
Yeah, I think with Trey, he's doing really well. I think the first thing I'll say is he's been outstanding in his rehab and really, taken all the things that the medical team has asked him to do and done them really, really well. With him, just had a little soft tissue soreness in the off season, so we wanted to just take it slow. So he's doing really well right now. Just had a report on him earlier. He should be back soon as well. Just wanted to be overly cautious there, but he's doing great, and he'll be back pretty soon.
So Trey Amos is dealing with soft tissue soreness off his fractured fibula that was suffered this past November 9th. But per Adam Peters, Trey Amos will, quote, be back pretty soon, end quote. Washington did just sign a cornerback. The team on Monday afternoon officially announced having signed unrestricted free agent cornerback Rasul Douglas. Took a while for that signing to become official. The signing was reported on July 6th. Monday was July 27th. Took 3 weeks for that signing to become official. May have just been a matter of Douglas being at the team facility and that was not going to happen until shortly before training camp. Anyway, the team has signed Rasul Douglas, and this to me was needed. Washington is lacking in depth at corner, and Douglas can play. He's entering his age 31 season. He had the 2025 regular season in playing for the Miami Dolphins, played in 15 of their 17 games, including 13 starts, and registered an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 72.7. That's good. PFF grades are on a scale of 0 to 100. 60 is average. Douglas has played in a regular season for 5 NFL franchises: the Philadelphia Eagles, Carolina Panthers, Green Bay Packers, Buffalo Bills, and Miami Dolphins. It was taken by the Eagles in the 3rd round of the 2017 NFL Draft out of West Virginia University. The guy is an experienced, proven corner. He's not some all-pro, but he is a credible player in that Washington cornerback group. We on Tuesday evening had this exchange between Commanders insider David Harrison of WUSA9.com and Adam Peters.
Adam, with Rasul Douglas, just kind of curious, what was it a deficiency in the room? Was it something Rasul adds that led to you guys bringing him in?
Yeah, I think kind of goes back to what we were saying before, too. We're always looking to add really good players, and Rasul's been a really good player in this league for a long time. He's played at a high level. He's started a lot of games. He's started a lot of games recently, and he always performs. So when you have an opportunity to add to that room, it's not a deficiency in the room at all. You just want to make each room as strong as they can be. So getting him in, we were really excited about that. And so we just got a chance to meet him yesterday. He's big. And he's played a lot of good ball, so we're excited to have him.
Yeah, Rasul Douglas is big. He's listed as being 6'2" and 209 pounds, by far the heaviest corner on Washington in terms of listed weight. Another news item with Washington in recent days was the team on Monday morning putting out a statement, quote, "We are parting ways with tight ends coach Ben Steele. The team will have no further comment at this time," end quote. And according to court records for Loudoun County, Virginia, Steele on June 7th was arrested on suspicion of driving while intoxicated, and he faces additional charges for refusing a blood/breath test, obstructing/resisting without force, and changing course after signaling. We on Tuesday evening had this exchange between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN, Dan Quinn, and Adam Peters.
Okay, well, I guess for both of you guys had to make a decision yesterday with Ben Steele, your tight ends coach. Just curious what went into that decision to release him versus keeping him around.
Right on. Yeah, I'm not going to lead on that. And so I know the team issued a statement, and we definitely wish Ben the best, him and his family. So best decision for us at the time. We're excited to get rolling on training camp tomorrow, Wes Welker will be working with the tight ends, and that's how we'll proceed forward.
Yeah, certainly really wish the best for Ben and his family. A lot of thought was put in that decision, and, it's just it was unfortunate, but, hopefully the best for him and his family.
Okay, so as we thought might be the case, offensive assistant Wes Welker now is Washington's lead assistant in terms of working with tight ends. He, per reports, was the person who coached Washington tight ends during the team's mandatory minicamp in June as Ben Steele was on leave. But Wes Welker's official title does remain offensive assistant. We, on Tuesday evening, had this exchange between Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
Just for clarity, is Welker's title changing at all? Or
He's going to work with the tight ends. We haven't discussed all the way through yet, but that's where we're headed in that space. He's working with the tight ends moving forward here.
All right, so that was all of the relevant stuff from this press conference regarding recent Washington Commanders news. A significant topic during the presser was the team's situation at receiver. Has Washington done enough at receiver? Is Washington interested in adding a notable veteran receiver, like, say, disgruntled San Francisco 49ers receiver Brandon Aiyuk, who on social media has been campaigning to play for Washington? We, during the presser, had just one Brandon Aiyuk-related question, but it was a good question. Came via this exchange between Commanders insider J.P. Finley of NBC4 Washington and Adam Peters, and you'll hear Dan Quinn chime in.
Adam, one for you, just in a general sense, as you're always looking to improve the team, when you're evaluating guys to maybe bring in for workouts, whatever, what role, if any, does kind of a player's social media have in that evaluation process?
That's a good roundabout question.
What a badass you are. Straight badass right there.
But no, we look at everything, JP. It's a great question, but we do look at everything, and we want to make sure it's the right player to be in our locker room, in our bloodstream, and in our culture, and we often we look at that stuff. It's not always the first thing we look at. Obviously, you're looking at the tape and you talk to the teams that the players have been on, and how they were in the locker room, the players that have played with them, and so on and so forth to make those decisions. But that's not usually a huge part of it. Usually.
Well played. Both of you.
All right, that was pretty funny. A very clever question by our friend J.P. Finley, but Adam Peters, of course, revealed nothing about what the team is thinking about Brandon Aiyuk, and that is how things are with this team under Adam Peters. Few, if any, leaks, few, if any, tells. Just think about the Ben Steele situation. I was thinking about this. The guy got arrested on June 7th. And yet we did not find out about the situation until this past Monday morning, July 27th. And we found out via the team putting out a statement. Had the team not put out that statement, we might still not know about the Ben Steele situation. The team for 1 month and 20 days kept that a position coach had been arrested on multiple charges under wraps. Think about that. Now, you could make the case that this was a bad job by local reporters. Arrest records are readily available online. This guy wasn't even at the team's mandatory minicamp, and yet nobody from the media seemed to notice. But still, Washington under Adam Peters. Few, if any, leaks. Few, if any, tells. You look at Washington at receiver as training camp begins. The team's perceived top receivers are Terry McLaurin, Antonio Williams, Treylon Burks, Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane, De'Ami Brown, and Van Jefferson. We on Tuesday evening had this exchange between John Keim and Adam Peters.
For Adam, looking at the roster, specifically, I guess, receiver, right? Mm-hmm. That's been a big topic, of course, in the offseason here. And you had talked about wanting to surround Jaden with as much talent as possible. How do you feel you've done that this offseason? Do you feel you still need to add more? And are there still possibilities that exist for that?
Yeah, I think I'd start by saying, really happy with what we've done in the offseason, throughout the offseason. Our staff did a great job working together and identifying guys that would help us both offensively and defensively. Specifically wide receiver wise, I think I've said to you guys before, really happy with who's in that room. Really happy with how the guys progressed in the offseason and stepped up, and I think they're going to take another step in this training camp. But just like with any other room, any other place, if we have ways to get better, we're always going to look into that. really assess the decision if it's the right move for our team or not. And if we do think it is, then we're not afraid to do that.
Okay, so Adam Peters right there, not saying much, but I do wonder if the team does truly like what it has at receiver. Put aside the Brandon Aiyuk situation, there are other veteran receivers who Washington in the 2026 offseason could have acquired / re-signed. Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, Deebo Samuel Sr. Each guy remains an unrestricted free agent. Samuel obviously was with the team last season and I thought did well, and yet the team in the 2026 offseason did not sign any of these guys. The team has not made an obviously notable acquisition at receiver since taking Antonio Williams in the third round of the 2026 NFL Draft. There is a tendency to dismiss the team saying that it likes what it has at receiver as just the team being politically correct. But maybe the team does truly like what it has at receiver. And if that's the case, the team better be right because what the team had at receiver last season wasn't close to being good enough. Don't forget about our guest on last Thursday's show, episode 1372, Stephen Pettin, data scientist for Stat Rankings. He discussed his research that revealed that Washington's Jayden Daniels was the quarterback most hurt by drops on a per-play basis in the NFL's 2025 regular season out of 40 qualified quarterbacks. So Stephen calculated that Daniels had plus 0.178 expected points added per play lost on pass attempts that resulted in drops, making him the quarterback most hurt by drops on a per-play basis in the NFL's 2025 regular season out of 40 qualified quarterbacks. And if we're just talking raw drops, Daniels in the 2025 regular season was victimized by 15 drops per FTN Fantasy over 188 pass attempts, a drop rate of 7.98%, way too high. And so to the question of, has Washington done enough to support Jayden Daniels? We on Tuesday evening had this exchange between columnist David Aldridge of The Athletic and Adam Peters.
Obviously, Jayden's work and his work ethic are going to determine most of how he develops and continues to develop. But what do you think you have put in place since the end of last season that will help him max out and become the best version of himself going into year 3?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that goes into it, and like you said, first and foremost, it's him. He's had an incredible offseason, really from the jump. As soon as he got healthy, he's been working his tail off, working on his body, working on his throwing, working with his teammates. Even before he got here, now working with his teammates after we left out in LA. So he's shown a great leadership, picked up the offense really well. Really happy with what he's been doing, and he's always been doing that since he got here, but really even at another level now. And then in terms of surrounding himself, kind of like what we said earlier, is just on offense, on defense, making the defense as good as possible so he doesn't have to always, make every play at the end of the game, and putting that together. Our defensive coaches have done a great job installing the defense. And then same thing on the offensive side of the ball with the players we brought in, the scheme, the coaching, really been pleased with everything that's gone on. There's a great energy in the building on both sides. So I think when you bring all those things together, I think the staff has done a really good job of surrounding himself with opportunity to win.
And the point about a better defense helping Jayden Daniels is key. Supporting a QB1 isn't just about getting him quality receivers, tight ends, and running backs and building for him a quality offensive line. Supporting a QB1 also can include a good defense, allowing him to frequently play with a lead. And one of the most jarring stats from Washington in the 2025 regular season, going 5-12 with a point differential of minus 95, is this. And brace yourself for this. Hold your steering wheel tight if you're driving. Washington in the 2025 regular season was number 27 out of 32 NFL teams in most offensive snaps with a lead, just 214. You do the math on that. 214 divided by 17 games, an average of just 12.59 offensive snaps per game with a lead. That is horrible, man. An average of just 12.59 offensive snaps per game with a lead. A defense that is not atrocious, as last season's Washington defense was, should help with that. Two new coordinators for Washington, and David Blau as offensive coordinator and Durante Jones as defensive coordinator. We on Tuesday evening had this exchange between columnist Barry Verluga of The Athletic and Adam Peters.
Adam, we've talked to Dan about this over the offseason, but what do you like about the schemes that Blau and Durante are bringing, like just schematically? What do you like about what you guys are going to feature?
Yeah, me personally, I love, I think, first off, just watching those guys coach and teach. And just it's been really impressive to see both of those guys live and in action in the meeting rooms and then on the practice field, the way they coach and they teach, and really the whole staff. Obviously, it starts with Q at the top and then those guys as it trickles down. But then offensively, we're going to be more multiple. We have, a lot of different personnel groupings and a lot of different ways to attack you. I think, it really, it's more quarterback friendly, I think, in a way, and I think that'll really help Jaden. Like I said earlier, he doesn't have to always make a play. We're going to try to scheme up things and have answers, so he doesn't always have to make a play. And I think the same way on defense. The defense is designed to, you always want to have the pen last, and so the defense, we have a lot of different ways to attack you and different things we can change up. So, we have answers, going into the play, and then during at the line of scrimmage as well. So, couldn't be happier with how everything went in the offseason. Really, really excited for it, really.
So did what most stood out to me from all of that stand out to you? Adam Peters saying of Washington's offense under David Blau as compared to the offense under Kliff Kingsbury as offensive coordinator the last two seasons, quote, "It's more quarterback friendly, I think, in a way, and I think that'll really help Jaden," end quote. How about that? It's more quarterback friendly in a way, and I think that'll really help Jaden. We on the podcast have had plenty of conversations about why Washington parted with Kliff Kingsbury. We on Tuesday's show, episode 1375, and speaking with the radio play-by-play announcer of the Washington Commanders, Bram Weinstein, got very good insight on why the change at offensive coordinator was made. But that right there from Adam Peters was pretty direct, was it not? Quote, "It's more quarterback friendly, I think, in a way, and I think that'll really help Jaden," end quote. A major theme from both Adam Peters and Dan Quinn on Tuesday evening was excitement. They clearly are excited about this team. They clearly believe that this team is positioned to be a lot better than it was last season. We on Tuesday evening had this exchange with Adam Peters.
Super quick for AP, the defense as a whole, this whole group looks totally different from how it did last year. How do you feel about, the whole unit, from the front seven to the secondary and how they are going to be able to gel together?
Yeah, I think the word excited, because there's so many different things we can do. It's very multiple. And not only within the scheme, but within the players and how we get different players on the field in different roles and their strengths and these different groups of these three guys or these four guys and trying to attack you in different ways. So really excited with it gives Durante a lot to really play with, and then just to kind of see the guys grow into their roles. So I'm excited to see how that unfolds, probably just like you guys.
And speaking of what we'll be seeing, what about the nature of 2026 Washington Commanders training camp? Dan Quinn, during his pre-OTA practice press conference on June 9th, said of 2026 Washington Commanders training camp, quote, "I do fully expect this to be our most competitive camp that we've had going into year 3, end quote. We on the podcast have discussed what Quinn truly meant in saying that. Bram Weinstein on Tuesday's show gave his interpretation. We on Tuesday evening had this exchange between JP Finley and Dan Quinn.
Hey guys, DQ, you've mentioned a few times you want to run your most competitive camp.
Yep.
Now that we're here and it's about to start, what specifically should we be looking for? What might look different?
I think what you'll see, you'll find some competitions in an everyday sense, and I think that's one of the very best ways that we'll get better. Just good on good, some situations into tomorrow there'll be a 2-point play competition, best out of 5. And those are the moments I think you'll find some game scenario and situations in every practice, 2 minutes and 4 minutes, last plays, setting up field goals. So those are the ones we're trying to, when even a difficult camp can also be stressful. Can we put ourselves in these spots. So when the air gets thin, that we feel like that's our space, and we're going to work really hard into that spot. So tough camp doesn't always mean like, banging all the time. It's like the execution, the elevation. Think of like you and I as boxing, the sparring, the getting ready to go compete. And if we think in those ways, that's what I'm looking for. And there'll be days where it goes one side versus the other. And so I feel a hunger from the team, so they're ready to get into that.
Well, going to be interesting to see to what extent Washington's 2026 training camp looks different than the team's 2025 training camp. Will there be more intensity? Well, according to Dan Quinn, his players are in good shape. This was Quinn during his opening statement on Tuesday evening.
All right, for me, reporting day, the first thing that I noticed, so it was the energy, but this looks to be a team that is in very good physical condition. You could just see this is a lot of guys that absolutely work their asses off to put themselves in a good space. Leaving in the spring, it was not, you're going to play your way back into shape. And so we knew that conditioning was going to be key. And so that fired us up for sure. But nobody's more pumped than me and the guy sitting next to me to get this thing rocking with the team.
Yeah, again, this theme of excitement. And so training camp begins. How will we know if it is a successful camp? We on Tuesday evening had this exchange between Commanders insider Liam Griffin of the Washington Times and Dan Quinn.
For DQ, you mentioned fostering that culture of competition. I'm curious, when you're looking back at this camp 6 weeks from now, how do you know it was successful? How do you define that success?
Yeah, that's a good way to go about it. And sometimes we'll let's start at the end and work back. And what are some of the things that we want to gain in that space? When you're talking about new systems, you really want to say how elevated can we get our execution? Because through the spring, you're developing your individual skills so much with the players. It's so devoted to them developing their skills. When you get into the fall and in training camp into the fall, it's really about the team development and the team growth. And so much of the off season we try to make so specific about this player, the skills you need for this thing, and then as you get into camp. So if we were going to work back from the end, how did our team grow? How did our execution go in all three phases? By that point, you're hopeful some roles begin to emerge. It's way too early to call into that. And so let's let that play. And we're ready to do that. And so we'd like to see that execution go. We won't be, the February version of our team will be much better than the August version, but the September one will be much better than the one today. And it'll take a lot of work to get there, and like the hunger, the competitiveness, the camp that we're going to throw, like all that leads into that.
Okay, and some more insight on what's to come. We on Tuesday evening had this exchange between Donna Hopkins of Pro Football Plus and Dan Quinn.
Hi, Adam and Coach. Coach, this is for you. As far as learning the offense and the defense, where do you see the players at with learning both on both sides of the ball as they head into 2026?
Yeah. It started into the off-season program from the learning standpoint, into the classroom, the teaching, and so could that be in the NFL today where you're adding players to it? It has to be relatable. It has to be learnable. It also has to be from the teaching standpoint, something that they can give back to you. So I thought they worked hard in that sense to get the system in place. And now over and over and over can we get those repetitions down. Usually you start with a bigger volume and then you start pulling down about the things that you really want to feature. And so that'll take a few weeks for us to get into that. David and Durante, we have like a 11 or 12 day install schedule that we go through, and you start paring down after that. But it'll take a few weeks for us to put the whole package in again. They've gone through it entirely once, and we'll go through the whole system again. Now adding different people into it in the spring. Maybe somebody was banged up, didn't get enough, or vice versa. And so it is a big part of that process, and I'm excited to see where they can take it.
All right, and some more specifics on how Dan Quinn is going to make this training camp an especially competitive camp. We on Tuesday evening had this exchange between David Harrison and Quinn.
You've mentioned unscripted periods during your practices to kind of try to ramp up some of that emotional competitiveness. Like how, from your teaching experience, kind of how will that impact the value that the guys get out of those sessions?
It's not just for the players. That's also for the staff as well. And the calling, the different down and distances, the personnel groups that you have to put in. So as much as we can to get game-like. Without it being in the game, you want to dig into that space. You'll see shot clocks. You're going to see us trying to fit into those space, from officials to being here to the joint practices. So having as many of those unscripted as you can. It's not just for the players to put the stress, it's for us as the staff as well. And so that's why in some of these competitions, I won't tell the players or the staff what is going to be, what's the scenario. I want us to have to think quickly on our feet. And so that's some examples of that, where the call-ups come up and different looks, different plays. And so that's one part of it.
All right. Well, something that I love about summer, beyond training camp, is how easy everything feels. So the days are a little more relaxed, and I find myself reaching for the same comfortable go-anywhere pieces again and again. That's why I keep coming back to Quince. Quince focuses on well-made essentials that naturally become those everyday staples that you actually live in all season long, like the shorts that I got from Quince, a sand dune-colored cotton chino drawstring shorts. They look and feel great. Instantly went to the front of the Goldie shorts rotation. Clothes from Quince are the summer upgrade that your rotation needs. Quince's 100% European linen pants and shirts are breathable and are easy to throw on, starting at just $34. Quince's tees are soft enough to live in all day, and the lightweight cotton sweaters are exactly what you want when summer nights cool down. And everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're paying for exceptional quality, not brand markup. Make your summer wardrobe easier. Go to quince.com/Galdi for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/Galdi. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Galdi.
Some days call for some oomph to amplify your everyday look. Like when you want the look of false lashes without the extra effort. Reach for Thrive Cosmetics Liquid Lash Volumizer Mascara. Or when you want all eyes on your smile, keep Empower Gloss Ultra Glossy Lip Serum in your bag. It's a burst of 24-hour hydration that smooths like a serum, shines like a gloss, and can be worn sheer or layered. You'll also look and feel your best with Thrive Cosmetics. Plus, every product is 100% vegan, cruelty-free, and made with clean, skin-loving ingredients that work with your skin, not against it. And for every product purchased, Thrive Cosmetics donates to help communities thrive. So every time you use your favorite Thrive Cosmetics product, you're helping communities you care about too. Amplify your everyday. Go to thrivecosmetics.com/shine26 for an exclusive offer of 20% off your first order. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/shine26.
So we on Tuesday night at Nationals Park had Canada-U.S. Friendship Day. Yes, that was the theme at Nationals Park, Canada-U.S. Friendship Day. Well, the Washington Nationals on Tuesday night were not so friendly to the Toronto Blue Jays. An 8-6 win over the Blue Jays at Nationals Park on Tuesday night in Game 2 of a 3-game series. This was a game for which the start was delayed for 1 hour and 7 minutes due to rain. The game itself took 3 hours. A long night at Nationals Park, but the Nats got the win. They now are 7-4 since the All-Star break. The Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 55-53 with a run differential of +31 and are 1 game behind the Arizona Diamondbacks for the National League's 3rd of 3 wild card spots. The Diamondbacks won at the Pittsburgh Pirates 8-7 in 12 innings on Tuesday evening. The Blue Jays in this regular season now are 49-59 with a run differential of -63. Yet another good game for the Nats offense. So you figured that was coming off the 3-2 loss to the Blue Jays at Nationals Park on Monday evening. It has been so rare that we have had 2 consecutive bad games for this Nats offense in this regular season. And so the Nats on Tuesday night, 8 runs, 8 hits, which were 2 home runs and 6 singles, 8 walks, 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position. How about the bottom of the first? This was something. The Nats in the bottom of the first scored 4 runs on a whopping 6 walks, an infield single, and an RBI sac fly. Yes, a 4-run first inning for the Nats on 1 hit, which was an infield single, but the Nats in the inning drawing 6 walks and also working an RBI sac fly. The Blue Jays starting pitcher was Shane Bieber. He lasted for just 2/3 of an inning. He allowed 4 runs in throwing just 15 strikes versus 27 balls. Bieber was a total mess, and the Nats took full advantage. Luis Garcia Jr. and Dylan Cruz, they and the Nats 3-run fourth, hit back-to-back home runs. Garcia, as the Nats starting first baseman and number 2 batter, went 2 for 5 with a 2-run homer and a single. Garcia in that 3-run fourth had a 2-out 2-run homer to right field for a 6-2 Nats lead, and the homer came off a lefty. Blue Jays lefty reliever Mason Fluharty. Garcia notoriously struggles against lefties, but in this game, a homer off a lefty. Luis Garcia Jr. for this regular season now has 22 home runs and an OPS of .864. He is in his age 26 season and is under team control through the 2027 season. To what extent is he a trade candidate regarding the 2026 MLB trade deadline, which is this Monday, August 3rd at 6 p.m. Eastern? You know, it is a tricky deal with Luis Garcia Jr. because he has never had a season as good as the one that he is having now. He has slid down the defensive spectrum. He's gone from being a shortstop to being a second baseman to now being a first baseman. So he's lost a lot of defensive value, but the offensive value has surged with the season that he is having, but he is only under team control through next season. If you are Nats president of baseball operations, Paul Taboni, do you sell high on Luis Garcia Jr., or do you keep him and perhaps try to extend him as a building block? Dylan Cruz, he is the Nats starting right fielder and number 3 batter, went 1 for 4 with a solo homer and a walk. Cruz in the Nats 3-run fourth had a 2-out solo homer to left center field for a 7-2 Nats lead. The homer went a projected 408 feet per StatCast. And take a look at Dylan Cruz. He is having a really good month of July. He, for this month of July, now has an OPS of .844. Also, Brady House came off the bench to pinch hit and play third base. He went 2 for 3 with 2 singles. Nice to see that. The Nats for this regular season continue to be number 1 in MLB in runs. That total now is at 594. The Nats starting pitcher in this 8-6 win over the Blue Jays at Nationals Park on Tuesday night was Cade Cavalli, and he again was good. He allowed 3 runs, 2 earned in 6 innings. He gave up 6 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 4 singles. He issued 2 walks. He recorded just 3 strikeouts, but he threw a good number of strikes, 98 pitches, 64 strikes, 34 balls. His velocity was good, as he per StatCast had an average 4-seam fastball velocity of 97.4 miles per hour. Now, Nats manager Blake Butera during his postgame press conference on Tuesday night did say that Cade Cavalli did not have his best stuff. You'll hear that coming up in just a bit. What did it say, though, about Cade Cavalli? You talk about like the maturation of a starting pitcher, right? Doesn't have his best stuff, and yet still 3 runs, 2 earned in 6 innings. Not bad. Cade Cavalli now in this regular season, 23 games, all starts, ERA of 3.55, whip of 1.29. But consider Cade Cavalli over his last 7 starts. ERA of 2.52, 48 strikeouts versus 8 walks. A strikeout to walk ratio of 6-1. That is domination right there. Cade Cavalli is surging. The Nats relief pitching in this 8-6 win over the Blue Jays at Nationals Park on Tuesday night. 4 Nats relievers combined to allow 3 runs, 2 earned in 3 innings. Although only one of the 4 relievers struggled, Tom Cosgrove tossed a perfect top of the 7th. Gus Varland allowed 3 runs, 2 earned without recording an out in facing 3 batters in the top of the 8th, during which he gave up a 3-run homer by George Springer on a moonshot to center field to cut the Nats lead to 8-6. The homer went a projected 437 feet per StatCast. One of the runs was unearned thanks to a fielding error by shortstop C.J. Abrams. But Gus Varland back at the major league level, and the return outing did not go well. The Nats on Tuesday afternoon announced having recalled Varland from AAA Rochester. His brother Louis Varland is the Blue Jays closer. They actually did the exchanging of lineup cards prior to the game. That was nice. This outing from Gus Varland was not. And the Nats, late night on Tuesday night, announced having optioned Varland back to AAA Rochester. But Orlando Revolta retired each of the 3 batters he faced, recording 2 strikeouts, and Clayton Beeter tossed a perfect top of the 9th for the save. So Cosgrove, Revolta, and Beeter did well. Cosgrove so far has looked good as a Nat, and Revolta, off struggling in June, has been much better lately. And also regarding Nats relief pitching, Blake Butera, he during his postgame press conference on Tuesday night revealed that the corresponding roster move to the Nats optioning Gus Varland to AAA Rochester Rochester will be the team activating pitcher Trevor Williams from the 60-day injured list, and that he'll be used as a reliever, not a starter. The Nats, this past February 10th, announced having put Williams on the 60-day injured list. This in his recovery from an internal brace procedure to repair his partially torn UCL in his right elbow. He underwent that procedure all the way back on July 17th, 2025. Williams for the Nats has only been a starting pitcher, but he in his MLB career has been a reliever. Did well for the New York Mets in the 2022 regular season in being used mostly as a reliever. Good win for the Nats. So here was some of Blake Buter's postgame press conference on Tuesday night, starting with Luis Garcia Jr. continuing to do well despite coming up in trade talks.
I know it's tough when someone like him has his name in trade conversations and things like that. How have you seen him handle that, and just the emotion that comes out of him? How important is that for the team?
Yeah, he's been great. I think this is the first time that he's seen some of that stuff come up. So it is a bit of a, just a different feeling for him. Someone that's been here for as long as he has, of course. And I've been very transparent with all those guys that, we will tell them whenever we hear of anything that's real, but it is out there, and that's the reality of it. And want to make sure that Louis and the rest of the guys that maybe see this stuff on social media or wherever they hear it, that if that stuff's real, it's because they're playing well, and that makes sense that teams are going to want somebody that's playing well.
At the beginning of the game, the 6 walks that you guys drew were the most walks in Nationals team history in a single inning. What did you see from that at bat, and what did you like about the approach the guys had?
I thought they did a really good job with Woody setting the tone there. After that, noticing that Bieber maybe didn't have the command that he normally has, and their at-bats that they went through, they were really patient and waited for a really good pitch to hit, and they weren't trying to do too much, especially when we got bases loaded in that spot there. They stayed stubborn and did a really good job of seeing pitches and seeing strikes and working the at-bats, and obviously getting the pitch count up to where we got it to, and getting him out of the game there in the first was big.
What are the conversations like in the bullpen when you realize Bieber doesn't have his best stuff? Is there extra communication to pass along the message, with the 3 guys drawing the RBI walks?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty short. It's just, be patient, understand what's going on in front of you, and make them come to you, especially as we were getting down there deeper in the bottom of the order, of course. I know Nas did a really good job as well of seeing some pitches, and the rest of the group followed suit.
What stood out to you about K's performance today?
Yeah, it was good. He didn't have his best stuff tonight. I'm sure he'll tell you that too. But it shows a lot when he's able to get through 6 innings the way he was, when you don't have the best stuff, so to speak. And he competed, and after that 5th inning, I know the pitch count was up there in the mid to upper 80s, and he came in and he was like, I got this, I'm good. And he wanted to go back out there, and luckily made quick work of that 6th inning.
Yeah, Cade Cavalli is rolling right now. Game 3 for the Nats against the Blue Jays at Nationals Park Wednesday afternoon at 1:05. The Nats have listed Zach Littell as their probable starting pitcher for the game. Life insurance. You and your family hopefully never need it, but not having it can make a tragic situation even worse. We have a family friend who lost her husband to cancer. Him not having life insurance made the ensuing years even more difficult. Well, Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You'll just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. Trustpilot rating as of June 1st, 2025.
If your business runs on 5 different apps, 12 browser tabs, and 1 spreadsheet that everyone's afraid to touch, it's probably time for Odoo. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that connects every part of your business into one powerful, easy-to-use platform. So instead of wasting time switching between disconnected systems, your entire business works together in real time. Your team moves faster, your data stays accurate, and you can actually focus on growing your business. Let one unified system run your entire business. From the first opportunity to the final payment, everything works together in one place. Whether you're a small business or managing a large operation, Odoo gives you one flexible platform built to grow with you. Learn more at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
Well, might we look back on Tuesday evening as when the 2026 Baltimore Orioles truly were cemented as sellers and not buyers regarding the 2026 MLB trade deadline, which is this Monday, August 3rd at 6 p.m. Eastern. A 14-0 loss at the Detroit Tigers on Tuesday evening in Game 2 of a 3-game series. The Tigers scored at least one run in each of the 8 innings in which the Tigers batted. Total humiliation for the O's. They in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 52-56 with a run differential of -25 and now are 2.5 games behind the Cleveland Guardians for the American League's third of 3 wild card spots. The Guardians on Tuesday split a day-night doubleheader at the Cincinnati Reds, a 6-5 win on Tuesday afternoon, but then a 2-0 loss on Tuesday night. The Tigers, they in this regular season now are 51-57, but with a run differential of +39, the Tigers are a lot better than their record suggests. The O's on Tuesday evening, just terrible offensively. No runs, just 3 hits, all of which were singles, just 2 walks, 0 at-bats with runners in scoring position. The O's got worked by Tiger starting pitcher Troy Melton. He tossed 7 scoreless innings, lowering his ERA to 1.75 over 11 games all starts at the major league level in this regular season. Oh, by the way, the Tigers have their ace, maybe the best pitcher on the planet, Tarek Skubal, as their probable starting pitcher for Game 3 of this series. So the Orioles starting pitcher in this 14-0 loss at the Tigers on Tuesday evening was Dean Kramer, and he again struggled. He allowed 8 runs in 4 innings, gave up 8 hits, which were 2 home runs, a triple, a double, and 4 singles, issued 3 walks into wild pitch, did record 4 strikeouts, but all of this added up to Kramer over his mere 4 innings, throwing 81 pitches. He threw just 45 strikes versus 36 balls. So Dean Kramer is not doing well. The O's on July 1st announced having activated Kramer from the 60-day injured list. He had been on that since May 29th, and he was on the 15-day injured list from April 23rd, retroactive to April 20th to May 29th. All of this due to a right quadriceps strain. He, in his return outing, did well. He had the Orioles 6-1 win over the Chicago White Sox at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on July 1st was very good. Allowed 1 run in 6 innings with 4 strikeouts versus 1 walk, but he since that game has been really bad. Dean Kramer at the major league level in this regular season, 7 games all starts, ERA of 6.50, whip of 1.36, a staggering 12 home runs allowed in 36 innings. He is giving up homers like crazy. During O's manager Craig Albernaz, his post-game session with reporters on Tuesday night, had these exchanges.
Obviously, tough night for Dean. Did you feel like it was a matter of just too many mislocated pitches that they capitalized on?
Yeah. Dean was grinding through. He just didn't have his best stuff today.
What do you think when a pitcher doesn't have their best stuff? What is the kind of in-between inning strategy that pitching coaches are going through to try to get him back on track? I mean, what does that kind of look like?
Yeah, a lot of the conversations kind of see what he's feeling on the mound, how he's doing, if there is anything to be tweaked, if it's like looking at the video, if release, any, how he's moving down the mound, wind-up adjustment, set-up adjustment, whatever it is, pitch usage. Just try to attack it from that angle. It's usually not one thing sometimes, or sometimes just the body is just not responding the way you want it to.
How concerned are you with Dean after the way the last 2 outings have gone?
Yeah, I mean, Dean's frustrated and rightfully so. It's not the best version of him right now, but with Dean's track record and the way he works and the teammate he is, we feel pretty confident he can get back on track.
All right. Well, O starting pitcher Chris Bassett on Tuesday evening began a minor league rehab assignment. You wonder how quickly he can be ready for a return to the majors. Bassett was on the 15-day injured list from June 8th, retroactive to June 5th to July 17th when he was transferred to the 60-day injured list. All of this due to lower back discomfort. And the Orioles relief pitching in this 14-0 loss at the Tigers on Tuesday evening was really bad. 2 Orioles relievers and 1 Orioles position player combined to allow 6 runs in 4 innings. Albert Suarez allowed 2 runs in 1 and 2/3 innings. Josh Walker allowed 2 runs in 1 and 2/3 innings. And catcher Chadwick Trump allowed 2 runs in 1 inning. A terrible loss for the O's, who right now need all of the wins that the team can get. Game 3 for the O's at the Tigers, Wednesday afternoon at 1:10. The O's have listed Trevor Rogers as their probable starting pitcher for the game. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Thursday's show, episode 1377, will include a lot for you on the Washington Commanders as we on Wednesday morning have their first practice of 2026 training camp. Also on Thursday's show, I'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. The Nats are home to the Toronto Blue Jays Wednesday afternoon at 1:05 for Game 3 of a 3-game series. The O's are at the Detroit Tigers Wednesday afternoon at 1:10 for Game 3 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I'll talk to you on Thursday.
Adam, one for you, just in a general sense, as you're always looking to improve the team, when you're evaluating guys to maybe bring in for workouts, whatever, what role, if any, does kind of a player's social media have in that evaluation process?
That's a good roundabout question.
What a badass you are. Straight badass right there.
But